Miss Candy foaled sometime during the night last night. I checked her last at 8:45. She'd ate her grain peacefully, was munching on her hay. No signs. Of course, her teats had been filling up a little bit more, her udder, but I actually zoomed in last night and took a photo. There was no wax whatsoever. So one of the myths is that a mare will get little dried wax droplets on the end of her teats. Does not always hold true, which again, I knew that, but that's kind of why I zoomed in to see, well, maybe she will wax over, maybe she won't. So not every mare does. So again, don't be looking for wax as a guarantee your mare's gonna foal. So anytime you have a mare foal, you want to check the afterbirth, the placenta, to make certain that it is all there, because mares can get very life-threatening infections if they don't pass all of it. So I picked this up, and this is actually her complete placenta. We have the amnion, which was immediately around baby. Then we have the allantois and the chorionic layer, which is what was adhered against mother's uterus. So when baby comes out, baby kind of turns it inside out as baby comes that way. So this is actually where the umbilical cord snapped at. So as they get moving around, that snaps, actually stops the blood flow with that nice stretching pressure that way. Always the cords, some of them, it's interesting, they'll be really twisted. That can cause some babies, some foals to die as they're being born because it cuts off the blood flow. So that's always something to watch, especially if you have a stillborn baby that way. And for the rest of this is, mares have two uterine horns, a right and a left. This one is the one that baby did not grow in, which is the non-gravid horn. The horn that the foal developed in is the gravid horn, as we call it. And this is one of the reasons why twins do not do well with mares, is, as you can tell, the baby had this, there's really literally not enough room for them to get adequate blood flow for both. It's unusual to have a nice even set of twins born. Usually one's larger than the other one, one's a lot weaker, things like that, and it all amounts to there's only so much space and only so much blood flow. So that's why twins are not a good thing in horses. For that very reason, is it just doesn't work. Nature did not design them to naturally have twins. So at the end of this is what we would call the cervical star, which is where baby came out. So looking through this, and again, this, normally I would rinse it off, but we're doing water line repairs today, so I didn't have water at this current moment. So I wanted to go ahead and do the video before it got really dried out. So that's why we're going ahead with a little bit of material still on it that way. But you can look at the blood vessels. This is one that looks all completely normal. There's none of them red, inflamed, things like that. If you do happen to lose a foal and it's stillborn, it's always good to save that, have your vet look at it. Sometimes you could even send in the placenta to try to diagnose what was wrong with the foal, what may have contributed to it stillborn. Occasionally, you will find these little rubbery things. A lot of them are usually a lot bigger. It's what we call a hippomane. There's several theories about what they come from. Some say they're in the foal's mouth from re-swallowing the amniotic fluid. Some say it's from the urine, the urinary calculi, whatever. These are supposedly good luck. This is one of the smaller ones I found, but I did find that one today. So that's always, again, if we're being superstitious, a sign of good luck that way. But again, I just look now, if by chance we had this and I was missing this section here, that would still be in the mare, and that's what I would have to have a veterinarian go in, get out, because again, you don't want that to set up an infection. And the afterbirth on a mare should ideally be completely out within 2 to 3 hours max, because I always tell clients 2 hours, because that gives me an hour window to get there in the meantime. And what you don't want to do is just go jerking at it, and I'm going to try to demonstrate, and actually just tear, because again, you're going to leave a piece of that in there if you put too much pressure. So as a veterinarian, if I have one that has some left in there, I will put fluids in with it. I will grab a hold of it, and I will just gently put traction on it, float the fluid, and then that helps me, as we always say, dilute the pollution, any bacteria that's in there. And also with time and a little bit of encouragement from some oxytocin, some contractions will help that lining release loose from the lining of the mare that way. So it's not something you want to do on your own. Now, some people will tie a rock to the end of it for the weight pressure. That's fine if it's just a little lightweight to give it a little gentle traction, but just don't go grabbing and pulling it, because you never want to leave a piece in there, because again, you're setting your mare up for a nasty infection that can cause laminitis and even death of the mares that way. So, but this is a nice looking, healthy placenta, and everything is intact, so I don't have to worry about Miss Candy at this point. Now again, I'll still watch for any signs that I've heard, discharge, things like that. But as of right now, we seem to be doing well. She's letting the baby nurse. And we're gonna check baby's blood level in a few hours for how much colostrum it's got, what we call the IgG level, and we will take over then and see what happens when we do the IgG levels. Okay, good. Let baby go. We gotta wait 7 minutes. So this is an IDEX Foal IgG kit, and the snap foal is when it gets back to a certain point, we will snap it down and wait 7 minutes. And what we compare is the darkness of the circles to the control samples. We have our foal sample, and we'll compare it to 3 dots will appear, and we will see which one ours matches the best. It will test if baby has got adequate colostrum absorption, and if it does not, then we will do our plasma transfusion. I do them at a minimum of 12 hours so they have adequate time. Some people wait closer to 24. I like to do it between that. Ideally, if you could go 18 to 24 hours, we don't know the exact time baby was born where we weren't here, so I know we're a minimum of 12 hours right now. So I know that for a fact, so we're probably closer to our 18 hours. I don't like to go too long, because if we have an issue, I'd rather get on top of it. So this is the baby sample. This is the 400 mark. This is the 800. So ideally, you want your baby sample to be greater than 800, which has proven to be a good protective level of IgG. Again, I was expecting that she's probably gonna be low. So when I walk around and it had at the time 44 seconds left, and it was already this bright, I'm like, dang, that's good. So being my paranoid self, we're gonna run a backup test, but right now it looks like we don't need plasma, which is a good thing. So you just want to, we're using whole blood, which is why it's in the purple top tube. So I've already mixed our tube that way and got a little bit out. You only want the tip of the little loop in, so you don't want to dip the whole thing, you just want the loop. And you'll swirl that around to mix it in. So these are fairly simple tests to run. Owners can do them themselves when they get them through their veterinarian that way. Gives you a little peace of mind. If you're good at drawing blood, all you need is blood out of your foal. So this is what it looks like before we do anything. So, then we're going to mix our bottle, drop out the beginning part of it, just so we get a good nice sample. We're gonna put 1 good drop down in there, mix our conjugate. And then we let it flow back until it reaches this little dot right here. And then that's when we do our snap, which is the IDEX patent on the snap term. It's starting to come in. And as soon as it fills the circle, you snap it down and 7 minutes. Just because where baby wasn't up nursing when I got here, I figured it might not have gotten enough absorbed in during the 12 hours today. But that tells me she has good rich colostrum, because again, I've not been able to touch this mare's sac, her udder, so I can't tell you. You can look at some colostrum, but you can't guarantee it by just looks alone. But the texture, the feel of it's got that nice sticky kind of honey type texture sometimes. that gives you an ideal, but you can't guarantee that alone. I have none of that information with this mare. So I'm just blindly, again, last night I literally zoomed in so we could see her udders, you know, to show that she wasn't waxed up. And again, she foaled without waxing. And again, as I said earlier, not all mares wax up. Some mares will have very little sac before they foal, and then they come into their milk, just like humans, you know. So again, there's so much variation. There's lots of things that tend to be general trends, but every mare doesn't read the book. So that's what we just take what they give us, and apparently Candy loves me today. When the baby starts getting darker first, that's usually a good sign, but you always wait your full 7 minutes. But when I was doing these on a regular basis, that was one of your best signs there was, when baby starts darkening first. So again, I walked into the office kind of just killing time mentally, getting prepared for the rodeo. And I came back and it was 44 seconds left, but now this has got a good 3 minutes left and it's already darker. So again, we've double confirmed. So she might have the child back. So end of day 1 with baby, and even better ending than I was anticipating. We checked the foal's blood for its IgG level, which means how much colostrum, those preformed antibodies that help keep the baby from disease, especially what we call failure or passive transfer, where we get infections in the joints, the navel, things like that. And baby tested over 800, which is the kind of the mark we're wanting at least a minimum of, and was well above it on both of our tests, because again, I double checked it just for that peace of mind. And so no plasma. Again, if you have things on hand, you tend not to need them, so we had everything ready, and knock on wood, baby come out with no issues, no plasma needed. So I always said Candy would go before Kissimmee, so hopefully we might get an update from Kissimmee that they have just as good as luck with their baby, and everything is good.